I'm Jordan Belfort, and this is Sales School. NetSuite is the world's #1 cloud business system. Bottom line, it gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. It's everything you need all in one place. In fact, over 21,000 companies are using NetSuite right now, so you'll be in great company right alongside them. So let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/school. We all have limiting beliefs, right? My limiting belief is always that when I was first coming back, my past will always haunt me, right?
Sure.
And because of that, I didn't take certain actions I should have taken. And eventually, people like myself and you, entrepreneurs that are successful, overcome your limiting beliefs. Like you step into your fears, but they do hold you back. Well, what are some of the limiting beliefs? Let's go back in time for you when you were like in your 20s and 30s. You know, first of all, what was your biggest failure? Like everyone has a big blowout. What was your biggest blowout?
My biggest failure was a website. We had 300 million page views and couldn't make any money because Facebook changed the algorithm. And so our company and like 23 other big media sites, you've seen BuzzFeed go down and Forbes.com firing all their writers. And there was so many. I mean, Elite Daily, all these guys went from worth hundreds of millions to zero in less than a year.
Oh, is that what happened to Elite Daily?
Yeah.
They used to ask you for a while to like go on there. I just never heard from them again.
There's a reason. They got acquired by Daily Mail.
Right.
And then Daily Mail a couple of years ago had to do a write-off and just write off the debt because it went from being worth a ton of money to nothing overnight. And it wasn't their fault. All these sites, Elite Daily.
But they were too dependent on Facebook, I guess, right? That's dangerous. When you have one source of revenue like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Same thing for influencers.
So that was your big, so you have that, right? So then, of course, what's the biggest lesson from that you took away from that?
Oh, man.
There's many, but what was
the main one is not to be dependent on any one thing.
Right. So
because if you are dependent on one core thing and that thing changes, what do you do? And so looking back, I could have done it different. We built the fastest growing site in history. Wasn't even close. 300 million page views in a single year, and it's a failure. And that sickens me to think about. Because of literally one little button.
Let me go back. So let me ask this. Knowing now, so how old were you at the time?
This was like 4 or 5 years ago. Okay,
so knowing what you know now, could you have made it work with the knowledge you have today, or just was a flawed idea from the beginning?
We all went down.
Right. Something's just a bad idea.
The articles are crazy. It's called the Winter Storm. Facebook created the Winter Storm where they bankrupted, I know of 23 to 27 companies that were big names.
What was the change they made in the algorithm? What was the exact change?
It's called instant articles. So instead of it going to your website, it pops up inside of Facebook.
So you
don't get the traffic. They get the money, not us.
Got it.
So we would have hundreds of millions of views.
People were leaving Facebook. They clicked or they leave and go to the site.
And we get ad revenue.
Right.
Instead, you stay inside of Facebook. That's it. All the companies go bankrupt.
Zuckerberg.
He's an evil genius.
He's an evil genius, right? He's got to be in his underground lair somewhere, right? $100 billion, right?
Yeah.
No,
he's gonna.
He made the perfect mouse. You have to give the guy credit, though.
Of course.
The perfect mouse.
And anybody that pokes the bear, he just buys them.
Right.
What doesn't matter if it's WhatsApp, Instagram, he just buys them all.
What do you think? Okay, let's be honest. Hopefully he won't throw us off his platform. But no, what do you think about in terms of antitrust? Do you think that Facebook should be broken up, or you think it should stay together?
I think it would be insane to break them up.
Why is that?
Because what happens is it's just new versions of power. And right now it's a manageable power. We can watch it, and the government can watch it, and the people can watch it. If he starts to break it up into different divisions, there's new situations.
So it's like taking over Iraq and ISIS pops up, basically, right? Yes. You think the devil you know is better than the devil you don't?
Absolutely. Facebook is too powerful. It's too useful. It's too interesting. I know they're scared of too much power.
So a question. Okay, so let's dig a bit deeper, right? And I'm not sure. I tend to agree with you. I think that the problem is, but what about the fact that he has most companies of that size? There's a board of directors that and shareholders control the company.
Right.
He has a super voting stock that gives him direct control.
Yep.
Do you think is there a solution that doesn't break Facebook up, but allows it to be, or you think that he deserves to have it the way it is right now? Because listen, the guy invented it, right? Yep. And you can't. We live in a capital society, right? Yep. And I make a lot of money on Facebook, so it makes me nervous that they break it up. But what do you think about that?
I root for him, like I think guys like him and Elon Musk, I think it's crazy when people try to take them away from their company.
1,000%. I agree with that too.
It's their baby. They built it. It's their passion, their vision.
I'm a big Elon Musk fan.
Like the idea of like, oh, well, he smoked weed. We got to get rid of like
for, do you remember back in I think it was 2000, right? And with the Microsoft antitrust.
Yeah.
Right, and they went into Microsoft, right, and what they basically did is they unbundled Explorer back then. So at the time, there was no Apple. There wasn't really. There was a nothing burger back then, right? But I think what it goes to show you is that even if they wouldn't have done that to Microsoft, Apple came in anyway.
Of course.
In other words, it's like the market has a way of correcting itself anyway.
Absolutely.
No one stays on top forever, And to say Amazon, for instance, right? I'm a huge, Amazon, although. My wife loves it more than anyone, I think, But
52% of e-commerce sales.
No, it's amazing, And the thing with Amazon is that one-click buying.
Yeah.
Like I teach persuasion. I use Amazon as an example. Like about when you ask for the order, you have to make the closing
frictionless
process really easy. The more clicks, the more actions, the more compliance goes down. Right? They have one-click buying. It's huge, right? So So you think that no government should stay out of anything like that?
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. And
they're not a monopoly.
Right.
They're not.
Well, no.
We all willingly go there.
Right.
We willingly sign up, and we can all willingly leave in seconds.
Right.
Anybody wants to get off, you can click unsubscribe.
And also, remember this: outside of the United States, there's a lot of other platforms. I mean, you travel around the country,
for sure.
China, right? There's,
absolutely. Think about how big WeChat and these other platforms are.
All right. So basically, so that was your biggest failure, right? Yeah. What about the stuff with Elliot way back when? How was I know you took a bit of a.
Yeah.
Elliot was because Elliot was like this great. Elliot's great on the way up. And not so great, especially if he's managing the checkbook, right?
Yeah. I mean, all of us collectively put in $6 million into that company, into our company together. We were the largest shareholders. We only had to put up $631,000 because we'd already spent a bunch of money on the convention and the clothing, and we already had sales before making this formation. That was frustrating because we had tens of millions in revenue combined.
The company was booming, and
he treated it like his piggy bank instead. Yeah. And so that was frustrating because, again, the few failures that have happened in my life were companies that were succeeding.
Right.
Like Victory Poker, we were huge. And then my competitors screw up and we're gone. But the scoreboard is the scoreboard. I still call it a failure.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have an ego to that. Like, it doesn't matter how it failed, it failed.
Oh, I get it. Right? I failed a lot more than I've succeeded. I said, it's like almost like cops and robbers. Like, when you're an entrepreneur, you're almost like the cops. Yep. You only have to be right once. You could be wrong a lot of times. A cop can, chase a criminal, the criminal can never be wrong. Right. He's wrong once, he goes to jail, right? As an entrepreneur, if you know the rules of being an entrepreneur, you can be wrong a lot of times. It takes one time to be right?
Yeah. And also, I'm not scared of failure.
Right.
Like if I tell people when I'm speaking at events, I'll be on stage and I'll mention, I'm like, if a bird flies over us and poops on the floor, I'll clean up poop in front of you guys.
Right.
I don't care. I have no emotion to you because none of you will be at my funeral.
So let me ask you, the reason I asked you this though is in terms of, when you fail though, typically what happens is you have to give a meaning to what did I do wrong? Was it my fault? Was it the world happening to me? We always we have a tendency to form limiting beliefs. So did you ever go through a time where you just you had a limiting belief that was holding you back that you eventually overcame?
So I call that don't sit on the floor and cry about it. What happens is your natural reaction is the next morning after you lose your company is to sit on the floor and cry about woe is me and this happened to me and the world hates me and this guy screwed me and that person did that. None of it matters anymore.
Right.
The company's gone. It's over.
Did you ever feel though that you maybe there's something maybe I'm not meant for? You ever go through a time you feel like maybe I'm not meant to be an entrepreneur? You ever have any of those doubts or no?
I think I've thought about what if I just go take a job and go be the director of marketing for Nike or go work for Beats by Dre. I've had considerations where maybe I should go take on a C-level job for one of these big companies, guaranteed 7 figures and nice and easy. And I
would probably kill yourself in 6.
Right. Yeah. Every time I thought about it went away 6 minutes later. So I don't know. I don't really have any regrets when it comes to that stuff because the failure parts make me who I am.
Right. Because you learn more from your failures than your successes, right? Here's my theory on failure is I think that people say, people have a fear of failure and that's what stops them. But I think it's more accurately, not that they're so scared to fail, they don't truly believe they're going to succeed. Like when they run the movie, they say, I can't really imagine myself being like him or so because of that, they say, why do all the work? Like in your mind, when you think about taking an action or building, that
I can't imagine not succeeding.
Right, exactly.
No, I literally can't imagine
myself. I say, hey, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But it's not like that someone else could succeed where I wouldn't. In other words, the idea could be flawed in some way. But
I can't imagine not succeeding because I will do absolutely everything to get there.
Right. So the analogy here is that so a lot of people, young people especially, when they get into this box and they're like, I'm not real. I don't know if I'm really cut out to be an entrepreneur. Like they can't imagine themselves, so they end up living smaller and smaller lives. Right.
They don't put in all the groundwork. They don't do all the studying. They don't put in the man hours. They don't do all those things to get there. Like if we were both standing here and we think about, hey, I want to walk to New York. Okay, somebody's going to pay us $10 million to walk to New York.
Right.
There's some number, right? You laugh about it. Okay, there's some number, 50 million, whatever the number is.
Right.
There's a number that you would walk to New York. Okay. There is no version where I don't make it to New York under any circumstance. If I have to crawl half the way,
A Forrest Gump it.
I don't care. Like there is no version where I
Right.
won't make it.
Right.
I have the same feeling in a company.
Got it.
If I launch a company, there is no version I don't make it to New York.
Total self-belief,
Absolutely.
basically. Right.
And if I don't and something happens along the way, I'm okay with that. As long as I'm willing to crawl and I do absolutely everything to get there, if I don't put in the work, if I just watch Netflix all night, then it's all my fault.
Question: best idea you've seen in the last couple of years that was poorly executed? That like the way that where you like it was so great and they just screwed it all up.
Yeah, Snapchat.
Snapchat.
The most gorgeous product in history, and it's
Explain it to
utter
everyone.
failure.
So explain explain the whole thing. Slow it down.
Okay, so they built the most beautiful product. It's fast, it's gorgeous, it's cool. And then they added all these crazy features to it to make it unusable. And then they turned down Mark Zuckerberg when he offers them $3, $4, $5, $6 billion to buy them out, strictly out of ego. And then when you turn down Mark Zuckerberg, what does he do?
He builds Snapchat.
He builds Instagram stories. And you know what's faster than Snapchat? Instagram stories. I can flick through your Instagram stories like this so fast. Like the idea that Evan would, does he think that he would go to Vegas and play with $6 billion a hand of blackjack? No, that's what he was doing.
Similar to Groupon. Remember Groupons?
Of course.
They're the exact same thing.
Of course.
They got $6 billion by Microsoft. They turned it down.
They turned it down. And now what is it?
It's
Nothing.
Right.
So to me,
Ego, right? Ego.
Yes.
Most of it, right? It had to be, right?
They built it. They did it. They got the offer. Everything that's supposed to happen happened for them. They did it organically, being right here in Venice, like having the cool office on the beach. Like they had it all. They get offered billions of dollars. They turn it down, and now it's the laughing stock of the stock market.
What's the lesson? If Zuckerberg wants to buy, sell it.
Absolutely.
Right? And not just him, anybody. Like if someone comes in with that big check, take the freaking money. Don't be an idiot, right?
The ego part is what makes people mess up, always. Like there's some people that just feel like I have to do this, or I know I can scale it to this. But you have to think about it. Would you really gamble on that? Taking $20 million for your company now and maybe getting 40 or 50 million in 3 years, is that worth it to you? Or could you take 20 million now, guaranteed lock it up, and then go make that other 20 to 30 million doing real estate or what other?
And I'm probably guessing they probably would have wanted to run the company anyway after the
they did.
acquisition, right?
Of course they did.
It's like just putting $6 billion in your pocket.
You still get to have the ego part.
Right.
By the way, the other thing he doesn't realize, at the time, he had like 26 or 27% of the company. Like he had a big piece of the company, so most of that would be his. He's had 3 rounds of funding since then. That's 3 rounds of dilution.
Right, yeah.
So maybe your company is worth 3 times more, but you probably only own 12% now. So your $6 billion becomes worth 15.
Right, no, yeah, totally.
You make less.
He's diluted himself out already.
Right.
Yeah, stupid. Amazing. That always amazing. When someone turns down an offer like that, it's just ridiculous.
It's frustrating.
WhatsApp, very smart.
$18 billion.
Sold to you.
Yeah, you got it, buddy.
No, I'll do it 15, I think. Yeah.
But even the Instagram guys, think about it. They took $1 billion.
Yeah.
That, knowing that they could scale it much more, knowing that they could be worth billions. Think about it. Instagram does over $1 billion a quarter now.
Right.
So it looks dumb. No, it's not dumb. They got $1 billion when they had 11 employees. That's genius. You take the guarantee.
Subject change. What do you think the best up and coming platform is right now? Like, it's just too hard to tell. You never know.
There's only one that's standing out. It's called TikTok. TikTok, but it's really meant for kids and for dancing videos and singing videos. But they've spent.
Explain what it is. Tell me.
That's just it. It's just singing
What
and
do you
dancing. People are just making fast content of them singing or dancing along to songs.
How fast is fast? How many seconds?
Like fast, like 10 seconds, 30
like
seconds.
Vine, like the old Vine almost?
Yeah, Vine had a real shot at glory. 6 seconds is a little too short, but same thing, they missed out. There's another app called Holanis that are building all of the apps together. A friend of mine spent like $30 million on it. He self-funded it. He was the inventor of biotech. He did like the first multi-billion-dollar biotech public offering back in the 80s. So he's self-funded for his son, put in $30 million. And Halanis is essentially Facebook, Instagram, all these companies combined to do e-commerce. So it's helping people monetize their personal brands. I think that one's interesting. They're now getting lots of traction. But that's really it. It's really tough to become a social media platform now. Remember, there's 220 other social media platforms. We just don't talk about them or think about them. It's really tough to grow. I think the one that's converting the best now is LinkedIn. LinkedIn, now that they added photo and video, it's magical. It is mind-blowing what you can do on there.
Explain this, because I'm not using it right now.
Yeah. So LinkedIn for you is huge, because you could sell the straight line program. You could sell there. People would pay $2,500 there all day long, because everybody on LinkedIn either has a job or wants a job, right? Nobody else. Johnny444 is not on LinkedIn. There's no poop emojis on LinkedIn. Everybody that's on LinkedIn has a job.
No pooch emoji.
Has a job or wants
poop
a job.
Emojis.
Yeah. The reason you see some of these guys, Neil Patel and Gary Vee, going all in and doing lots of content on LinkedIn is because when their video gets 30,000 views there, infinitely worth more than getting 3 million to the masses.
Got it.
Way more. You should 100% be putting a big effort on LinkedIn.
Well, you just hooked me up with a guy who I'm sure will take me in that direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the guy.
Josh Avon?
Yeah, Josh. He's
so,
awesome, by the way, yeah.
LinkedIn is critical, not just for you. For you, it's super critical because for your sales course, I mean, people are going to eat it up.
Right.
Separately, for people that are just 18 years old, 23 years old, getting on LinkedIn, because now anybody you want to get out to and reach out to is there. Like, you have a sports product, you can find the CMO, CEO, CTO, head buyer, vice president, president of Sports Chalet, Big Five, and every other sports goods store in the next 22 minutes.
Hey, Bowen, you listening to this, Bowen? LinkedIn, my son works here.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
I love him. So going out there and building up your LinkedIn and then actually utilizing it, going out and engaging on people in your category. So if you have a sports product, you go follow all the people in the sports industry. You go comment on their stuff. Who knows if all of a sudden the guy from Sports Chalet is like, hey, buddy, I want to buy your sports product. Your risk is nothing, but your reward is, what if you get an order from Sports Chalet or Big Five? Just because you're on LinkedIn. Like, it's mind-blowing that people don't
Zero risk, mass, unlimited upside, right?
And you don't have to, if you have, I tell people to keep their day job. You work 9 to 5 and you work as a bartender at nighttime, great. You could be on LinkedIn at 1 a.m. or 6 a.m. It doesn't matter. It's not rude. It's not like you're calling somebody at their home and waking their kids up. Like, you can comment and like stuff and direct message people at any hour of the day and night on social media. It doesn't matter. So for people to tell me they don't have time, it's nonsense.
It's ridiculous, right?
It's really ridiculous.
Limiting belief.
Yes.
I don't have enough time.
Right.
I'm too old, too young.
You always have your phone in your pocket.